Well, thank you for joining me. So I'm sitting here in the Living Miracles studio in Camas, Utah, and this is our studio where we broadcast our Course in Miracles events, online retreats, and we have one coming up this weekend that will be my first one behind the scenes. I'll actually be behind the audio mixer and making sure the sound is good, and yeah, it's just a beautiful studio. As you can see, it's just very, very professional, so it's a step up from what I've done in the past, and I'm having fun utilizing it also for these YouTube lives, and I've been doing some Facebook lives. And yeah, I thought I would share about this turkey soup miracle tonight that happened last night, or maybe it was 2 nights ago. Time seems to shift for me a lot, but yeah, it was quite recent. And yeah, just to give you a little bit of context, here at the Living Miracles Center, there's about 6 or 7 of us living here right now, and we're very devoted. All of us have come here because we just want to devote our lives to Jesus' message in A Course in Miracles, which is that everything that we perceive has only one purpose, and that's for forgiveness. And so, while the typical egoic perception always looks at things and sees, attack or something I want from someone, or it sees lots of different purposes in everything, the Spirit's perspective, and when we allow Jesus to guide us, his perspective through us is one of forgiveness, that everything is either love or a call for love. And so we come here and we join together, we collaborate on a lot of different projects. Like I said, I'm going to be on the studio team, and I'm going to be helping with the audio mixer, but I'm also here doing other things. I'm actually over the kitchen as well, which relates to my turkey soup miracle. And when we join together, we really try to practice tuning in and listening to what the Spirit would have us do, as opposed to what our personality self would have us do, which is always based on pleasure and pain, trying to avoid pain and gain pleasure for the personal self. The Holy Spirit's guidance is never to gain pleasure or avoid pain. It's always for expansion, for opening our heart, for getting in touch with the blocks to our own awareness of love, of God's love that is behind everything. And so I'll share with you this. A miracle, as the Course in Miracles defines it, isn't necessarily some big event where you part the Red Sea, or some of you may have seen that Jim Carrey movie where he gains the powers of God, and then he parts the red soup at his table, and it's like this. It wasn't like that for me with the turkey soup, but it was it was much better, because it was a deep inner shift that I experienced, which is really what a miracle is. It's an inner shift. It's when you have an awakening moment, a moment of humility, of seeing things in a totally different way that helps you go deeper on your spiritual path. So basically what happened was Greg, Greg is my link. He's here, he's overseeing the whole property, and he asked me to make some turkey soup, because we had this we had 2 turkeys actually that we had cooked for Thanksgiving, and we kept the carcasses so that we could make turkey soup. And I've never made turkey soup before. My mom used to make it all the time, but I'd never made it myself. And so he asked me to make it, and he told me that basically, he told me the steps. He told me, today what you can do is, just put the carcasses in the hot water, kind of break them apart, and we'd already cut most of the meat off, and just put it in the hot water and boil it for a few hours. And then tonight, you'll want to get all the, you want to cool it down first, and then take out all the bad stuff, the bones and the cartilage, but keep the meat. So I ended up having a day. I mean, I did the first steps. I cooked it for several hours, and I got it all. It was all hot, and then I cooled it down, and then it was getting into the evening, and I had a day where my mind had gone into some stress over the studio. I was really starting to take on all these responsibility thoughts, and it was kind of weighing me down. And I got sidetracked. So it got to be about 10 o'clock at night, and I still hadn't done the turkey, where the next part where you're supposed to take all the cartilage and the bones out. So I thought, well, I'll just do it tomorrow, I think. Even though Greg and I had talked about me doing it tonight, I thought I'll just text him and I'll tell him that I'm feeling really tired, and I think I'll just do it tomorrow. But I had some guilt. Something felt off about that, about that decision. So I wasn't sure, though. I just thought, well, I don't know. I feel tired. I don't really want to do it right now. So I just texted him and said, I think I'm going to do it tomorrow. And he texted me back a couple moments later and said, well, it's not that hard, and it won't take that long. and that wasn't the answer I wanted to hear. I was hoping he'd just be like, oh, that's cool, you can get to it tomorrow morning when you have time. So I just sat there for a moment, and I noticed all this resistance coming up, like he wants me to do it tonight. And I really don't want to do it tonight. I'm so tired. I felt I had like a headache, and I just sat there for a moment, and then I basically just thought, well, I don't know. I got to be at least open. So I took in what he said. I had to read it like 3 or 4 times. The ego always has its own projection that goes first, these overlays. And so my first thought was probably something like, oh, he's just a stickler for, what we agreed on, and why does it have to be done tonight? And, just all these thoughts running through my head, all these defenses. And then I got still, and then I read his message again, and again, it said it won't take that long, and it's not that hard. And I just thought, okay, well, maybe that is something I could do. And so I just wrote back something like okay or sure, but I still wasn't committed. I just thought, okay, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. And then I sat there a few minutes. I still didn't know if I was going to go do it. And then I sat there for a minute more, and finally I started to feel something inside me stirring, like, okay, this might actually be fun. It could actually be something that is very peaceful. It could be like a meditation, taking out the cartilage. And so I thought, okay, I'll just start doing it and see how it goes. So I walk over I get up and I go to the kitchen, and I start working on it. I start taking the soup out, and I'm kind of just doing it by hand, and I start to realize after a minute that it seems like, unless I don't understand the process or I'm missing something, it's actually going to take a while. Suddenly I realized it might take an hour, because there's so many little pieces, like tiny little bones, and it was a pretty big pot of turkey soup. So I paused again, and I prayed, and then what came to me was, ask Greg if he can just come over and give you a little tutorial on, maybe there's a faster way to do it. So I did that. I texted him, and he said, sure, I'll come over and help in a couple minutes. So he came over, and he was actually inspired just to join me and do it with me. So it was really beautiful. It was like a beautiful symbol of how, when you're willing to ask for help, the help just comes, and it comes in abundance, actually. So both of us were working on the turkey soup, and we got it done, and I actually did. I fell into a really peaceful place where I felt like it was just a meditation. It was almost like a dance, like he was doing some of it, I was doing some of it, and we were just kind of in this flow together, and it all got done. And that felt really good, but the real miracle for me was the next day, I I saw Greg in the kitchen, and I felt good. I felt glad that I did get it done. It did turn out to be a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, and it took a lot less time than I thought it was going to take because we did it together. And it all started because I had that little willingness to move through the resistance and just stay open. But then in the kitchen the next morning, I asked, I forget how it came up, but I mentioned that was great, getting that done last night, and Greg said, yeah, it's good. If you wouldn't have been able to do it today because the all the fat and the cartilage, it turns very gelatinous. It turns into like Jello. If overnight in the refrigerator, you wouldn't, literally you wouldn't have been able to do the job today, which I had no clue about. and in that moment, I realized that, because I could have just, he sent me that text the night before. I could have just gone to bed thinking, well, I know best. I'll just do it tomorrow. But I actually didn't know that fact about about how it will be unable to be done the next day. and that was very convincing to me of that idea from A Course in Miracles. I do not perceive my own best interests. I just realized, wow, this was something that I literally, not only did I not know my own best interests in terms of how I felt, because like I said, I was feeling like I had a headache, that I didn't want to do it, that it would be better for me to do it the next day, but I didn't realize that practically speaking, that wouldn't even have worked. So it was really convincing for me that I need to be extremely humble. That was a miracle. The moment he said that about how it will turn gelatinous, you won't be able to do it the next day, it was like some kind of pop occurred in my mind, like a pride pop. Like, wow, I really thought I knew what was best, and I didn't. I clearly didn't. And then, of course, the next day after that conversation that day, I continued to make the soup, and I was in a different space. I was in a space of just intuition and humility, and my first time making turkey soup, and it turned out really, really great. Everybody told me they loved it, and I loved it, and that was just like an effect of the miracle, which was that shift that occurred in my mind. So yeah, not some big, huge event kind of miracle, but it was really profound for me. And I think these are the kind of miracles that we need to hear about more, and we need to share more, because they're everyday little ways in which the Holy Spirit is shifting our mind from thinking that it knows what's right and what's best to realizing that it doesn't have a frickin' clue. and staying in that humility all day long and just being willing to be shown moment by moment, that's how we can continue to open up to more expansive experiences and deeper states of intimacy and love with ourselves, with God, and with everybody that's around us. So yeah, that's my turkey my turkey soup miracle, and I'm so grateful. It just keeps. I feel like every day here at the center. I got here about a week ago. There's been little miracles like that. Even today with the audio mixer, we talked about. I have a lot of past experience with audio mixers, and I my intellectual knowledge would have me want to go in and really change things to make it better than it has been, because they've been using the mixer for several months already, set up a certain way. And we all just agreed that it probably would be best for me to just use it as it is and forget everything I've ever learned about audio mixers and be like a little child. And wow, at first I was really struggling with that. Like almost, the analogy came to me of, I feel like I'm a race car driver who's been given this really fast, car, but I'm being told that all I can do with it is just, hold the handle and push on the gas and the brake, and don't use any of the other controls. But I gotta say, there's something in my mind that's opening up to this childlike innocence and humility, and just, stopping and smelling the flowers. Take it just like the song that came through me many years ago, just relax, go slow, there's no need to hurry, there's no monsters chasing you. I can just let go of the responsibility thoughts and be in the moment, and trust that Spirit will take care of all the details. So I think that's it for tonight. And I'm really grateful for the upcoming retreat as well. If you're watching this and you want to join in a lot of very deep metaphysical teachings this weekend, then we're having a retreat called The Forgiven World, which is going to be about what I've been talking about, in the sense that the purpose of A Course in Miracles is forgiveness, and it does lead, when you give the purpose of forgiveness to everything that you perceive, then the whole world becomes unified. Instead of it being fragmented, it's perceived as a unified world where there is no conflict, and that's what all of us are craving. That's what we're all longing for. It's not like a pie in the sky kind of thing. It's actually our natural state that we can return to. So I put a link to that event if you want to check it out and join us this weekend. I put a link to that in the description of this YouTube down below, and there's some other resources down there as well if you're interested in diving in deeper with A Course in Miracles and these teachings. So thanks so much for watching, and lots of love to you.